Are you tired of getting destroyed in lane? Do you want to stop getting ass blasted by Set, Poppy, and Vayne top? Oh! He's fucking penis! Well, in this video, we'll go over the various matchups and how to play them. I'm gonna teach you how to play against tanks, fighters, juggernauts, and finally, the infamous range matchup. Riven is mostly strong at short trading with her ability to get in and get out, and she's good at all-ins with high burst damage and mobility, so it's really hard to run away from a Riven. However, Riven is really weak against champs who have hard CC to stop her from being mobile. She has no sustain and she's fairly squishy. She's not really that durable. So that means she's weak to being poked and out-traded. Before we go into the different classes that you're gonna face in the top lane, here's some general tips. Always break bone plating first before you trade if they have it. You can tell if they have bone plating if you click on their character and you'll see that the bone plating is on cooldown. Always try to extend your Qs and don't use all your dashes. And play off the minion waves, slow push, and freeze waves when you can. So first off, we're going to start with the tanks. Tanks usually have a lot of CC depending on the champion, so consider using Legend Tenacity or Unflinching. You can also try to go for scaling runes as tanks are usually unkillable, so you might as well farm all lane and wait for your items. Things like Transcendence, Gathering Storm, and even the ability Haste Shard. It's possible for you to play level 1 all in and try to kill the tank before they start getting armor. Riven usually struggles against champions after they've built a couple of armor items like Ninja Steel Caps and Bramble Vest. She's not like other fighters who have things in their kit like max health damage, true damage, or max health true damage. For that, there are a couple of options. Black Cleaver First is a strat that you could go for because the usual Gore Drinker doesn't really do damage to them. Zerilda's Grudge is good too because it's got Armor Pen, CDR, and the slow helps with being sticky. Another strat that I found from the legendary Viper is the Divine Sunderer Mythic. This item is bonkers against tanks, and paired with the other items I just mentioned, you'll be shredding ass cheeks. Okay, so the next matchup is that a Renekton plush? Or should I say Renektoy? Okay, look, I'm sorry, I didn't. Next up are the fighters. These guys are the split pushers, the duelists, and they want to fight you all the time. These are the fun matchups. Fighters deal massive damage and they can one-shot you, but they also have high mobility to chase you down. So yeah, don't mess up if you're fighting against them. Usually these are skill matchups and whoever's the better player will win. Fighters are massive snowballers and have the power to 1v9 carry, so don't feed these guys. I recommend you go bone plating against these matchups to help you survive the all-ins. Get Ignite, because most fighters are pretty squishy, so you're going to want to win the 1v1 against them to snowball yourself. This matchup is very volatile. Go for Longsword 3 because you want to be trading a lot, but Doran's Blade is optional for the health that it gives. You want to build Gore Drinker and then Lucidity Boots for the aggressive plays. And since most fighters don't build a lot of armor and they just build damage, you don't really need Black Cleaver, so you're better off going Death's Dance and Maw. So the fighter matchup is usually up to who plays the waves better, because whoever has the wave on their side can chase down the other with their mobility. The difference between Riven and other fighters is that they have way better split and they scale better than Riven. But most matchups are Riven favored, and from there she can snowball and perform better in team fights. Oh boy, it's time for Juggernauts. The hard matchups would be something like Darius and Set, and the easier matchups are Mordekaiser and Nasus. Yeah, Juggernauts usually can beat Riven down to the ground. Those guys can deal huge damage and they're super tanky. The weakness is that they're not that mobile unless you're going against Darius with Flash, Ghost, Nimbus Cloak Celerity looking ass. You can outmaneuver them, but this can be pretty hard. For items, you should get Doran's Shield. You want to play safe and try to survive in lane where the Juggernaut is the strongest. For runes, you want to get Resolve with Bone Plating and Unflinching to survive the lane. Juggernauts can be really oppressive and your goal is not to feed them. But you don't want to fall behind either or you're going to be useless. If you go even, you win because you can outscale them with your mobility and kite them. Go for short trades all the time and never let them catch you with their CC or you're dead. Even though they have a lot of sustain, Riven can whittle them down until she can get an all-in with ulti. You want to play around your cooldowns and try not to take long extended trades or you lose. Get your Renekton plush today at Riot Games merch store for $30. This is an actual steal, yeah. Oh, the range matchups. Nobody likes range matchups. Remember how I said Riven has no sustain and she's really weak to poke? Well, in this matchup, you can't do shit. But I will show you how to survive the range matchup. I suggest you go Second Wind with Doran's Shield for the HP regen. This will help for Riven's lack of sustain. If you have extra money on first back, you could probably get a refillable. These things are pretty overpowered. You want to start E for your first ability to block the poke damage. And never push against a ranged champion. If you push, they're gonna freeze the wave on their tower and poke you. Always let the ranged champion push into you. In the range matchup, they're gonna try to walk up to you and deny XP from you, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. They have the range advantage, and being down on XP and gold is normal against the range matchup, so don't worry about it too much. They can be really oppressive in lane, but they're really weak to getting ganked. They're pretty squishy. There is a way to outplay the ranged champion, but it's gonna be hard. You must use the technique of Q extending before you all in, so you have a means to engage. This is how you get enough mobility to reach them, because you can't just use all your dashes to get on them, or they kite you. When a ranged champion auto attacks you, it triggers minion aggro, and this means they take damage, but it also means that your minions aren't hitting their minions, so it's gonna push to you. Don't try to get poked too much under your own tower, because they could just call their jungler to dive you. You should try to tether them and stand right outside of their range. They're gonna want to auto attack you, and that's your chance to go in on them, because they're gonna be walking right into your dashes. For items, you could go the standard build, but there's a super secret option that you have, and that is the Prowler's Claw build. The Prowler's Claw with full lethality will let you get onto your opponent so they can't escape. I know these rules aren't gonna work on every single champion. Some champs are just super different from other champions. So that's when you need to learn the individual matchups, and that's what makes the difference between a good player and a cracked player. So now that you know the basic outline of what makes a lane matchup, you want to try to practice all of them. I suggest you don't ban the top laners so you could get more matchup experience against every champion. Instead, you should ban junglers because junglers are OP. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the most important matchup of all, and that's the Singe matchup, the final boss of League of Legends.